People often ask me, Dick, you're a physicist. You look at the world through these equations and these strange rules of quantum mechanics. Does it make the world feel empty? Does it make life feel mechanical? And usually they eventually get around to the big question, the one everyone is afraid to ask, but everyone thinks about in the middle of the night. They ask, what happens when it ends? What happens when I die? Now, if you ask a religious man, he has a book. If you ask a biologist, he talks about decomposition. But if you ask a physicist, if you ask me, I have to tell you something that might sound very strange at first. It might sound crazy, but nature is strange. Nature is crazy. And the truth is, the question itself is wrong. You see, you are under a terrible misapprehension. You have this idea, this intuitive feeling that you are a thing. You think you are a noun. You think you are a static object like a chair or a stone that exists in the world. And because you think you are a thing, you are terrified that the thing will be broken, destroyed, or lost. But you are not a thing. You are not a noun. You are a verb. You are a process. You are an event. And when you understand what that actually means, when you really look at the atoms jiggling and wiggling inside of you right now, the fear of death changes. It doesn't disappear maybe, but it changes into something else. It changes into a kind of awe. It changes into a recognition of what you really are in this universe. You see, most people think they are the matter they are made of, but that is physically impossible. You are not the stuff. You are the pattern. It is a very confusing thing, isn't it? To be a pattern, but not the stuff. But we see it all the time. Think of a wave in the ocean. You see the wave coming toward the shore. It has a shape. It has a height. It has a crash. You say, there is a wave. But the water in the wave is not moving with the wave. The water is just moving up and down. The water that makes up the wave now is different from the water that made up the wave a minute ago. The stuff changes. The pattern remains. You are exactly like that wave. And today I want to talk about that wave. I want to talk about where the atoms come from, why they stick together in this marvelous complicated shape called you, and what happens when the sticking stops. I want to take apart the machinery of existence and show you that while the pattern might fade, the pieces, the reality of what you are indestructible. It is a journey from the very small, the jiggling atoms, to the very big, the flow of time itself. It is going to require us to throw away some common sense, because common sense is usually wrong when it comes to the deep laws of nature. This is not just physics. This is how reality works. If you want to join us in decoding the universe, and you want to see the world as it truly is, hit that subscribe button. Let's find things out together. So, let's start with the basics. Let's start with the building blocks. If you stand by the sea and you look at the waves crashing, you might feel poetic. But if you look closely, if you look with the eye of a scientist, what do you see? You see water molecules, countless, billions upon billions of them. And what are they doing? They are jiggling. They are moving. They are bumping into each other. Everything is made of atoms. That is the most important hypothesis in all of biology, in all of physics. Everything is made of atoms, little particles that move around in perpetual motion, attracting each other when they are a little distance apart, but repelling upon being squeezed into one another. Now look at yourself. Look at your hand. It looks solid, doesn't it? It looks stable. It looks like it has been there for years. But if we could zoom in, if we could magnify that hand 1 billion times, what would we see? We would see a chaotic storm. We would see atoms of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all vibrating, all jiggling. Here is the shocking part. The atoms that are in your hand right now are not the same atoms that were there a few years ago. It is a physiological fact that the atoms in your body are being replaced all the time. You eat, you breathe, you drink. You take in new atoms, you exhale, you sweat, you use the bathroom, you push out old atoms. The turnover is constant. The carbon in your brain, the phosphorus in your bones, the oxygen in your blood. It is all flowing through you like water through a sieve. So I have to ask you, if the atoms are different, are you the same person you were 10 years ago? Physically, absolutely not. You are a completely new batch of material. You are a new pile of stuff. Yet, you remember the childhood home. You remember the first time you rode a bicycle. You have the same personality, the same laugh, the same fears. How is that possible? How can the memory remain when the hard drive has been replaced? It is because, as I said, you are the pattern. You are a dance. If you go to a dance hall and you see a square dance, the people change, partners. They move around, some leave, new people come in. But the dance continues. The structure of the dance, the rules of the movement, that is what persists. You are a very specific, incredibly complex, self-sustaining dance of atom. Now this brings us to the question of death. What is death in this picture? Death is not the destruction of the atoms. We know from the conservation of energy and the conservation of matter that you cannot destroy an atom. You can smash it, maybe change its form, turn it into energy, but the stuff of the universe is constant. The amount of energy in the universe today is exactly the same as it was at the beginning. So when you die, you do not vanish. The carbon does not pop out of existence. The energy that powers your heart does not dissolve into nothingness. Death is simply when the dance stops. It is when the pattern dissolves. Why does it dissolve? Why can't the pattern go on forever? Why can't we just keep replacing the atoms and stay alive for 1,000,000 years? This is where we have to talk about the great enemy of order. We have to talk about entropy. Now, people use this word entropy loosely, like a poetic term for chaos. But in physics, it is very precise. It is a measure of the number of ways you can arrange a system. Think of a deck of cards. If you buy a brand new deck, it is in perfect order. Ace to king of spades, ace to king of hearts, and so on. There is only one way to have the deck in that perfect order. Just one. Now throw the cards in the air. Let them fall on the floor, or just shuffle them. What happens? They get mixed up. They become disordered. Why? Is there a law of nature that says, "Thou shalt be messy"? No. There is no force pushing the cards into disorder. It is simply a matter of probability. It is a matter of counting. There is only one arrangement that is perfect order. There are billions and billions and billions of arrangements that are mixed up. So when you shuffle, you are simply moving from a state of low probability order to a state of high probability disorder. If you keep shuffling, will the cards ever accidentally go back to the perfect factory order? Theoretically, yes. It is not impossible. It is just incredibly, incredibly unlikely. You could shuffle for the entire age of the universe, and you would never see that perfect order again. Not because it is forbidden, but because the odds are overwhelmingly against it. Life, your life, my life, the life of a tree or a bug, is a temporary victory against this shuffle. You are a highly ordered arrangement to keep your heart beating, to keep your neurons firing, to keep your body temperature at 98.6 degrees requires a tremendous amount of effort. You are constantly fighting the probability. You are constantly pushing against the natural tendency of things to jiggle apart. You eat food. What is food? It is concentrated energy. It is low entropy. You take that order. You use it to repair your cells, to build your proteins, to keep the pattern holding tight. And then you expel heat. You expel waste. You pay the price. You create disorder in the environment to maintain order inside yourself. But eventually the machinery wears out. The copying errors in your DNA accumulate. The thermodynamic bill comes due. The shuffle takes over. When you die, the energy that was holding the pattern together is released. The atoms are released. They stop following the strict instructions of your DNA, and they return to the wild, chaotic jiggling of the inanimate universe. It is like the wave crashing on the shore. The water spreads out. The foam dissipates. The shape is gone. but the water is still there. Now, this might sound depressing to some of you. Oh, so I'm just a temporary shuffle of cards, and when I die, I just get mixed back into the deck. Well, yes, but wait, there is more to it than that. We have to talk about time, because our intuition about time is just as wrong as our intuition about matter. We have this feeling that time is a flow. We think the past is gone, vanished, erased. We think the future hasn't happened yet. We think the only thing that is real is now. And we think now is moving forward like a spotlight moving across a dark stage. But when we look at the equations of physics, when we look at Einstein's relativity, which has been tested and proven over and over again, we don't see a moving spotlight. We don't see a flowing river. We see something that looks more like a block. We call it space-time. Imagine a loaf of sausage, a big long salami. You can slice it into thin pieces. Each slice represents a moment in time. Now, but the whole sausage exists at once. The beginning of the sausage and the end of the sausage are part of the same object. In physics, we suspect that the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. They are all laid out in a four-dimensional map. This is a very difficult thing to visualize, but think of it this way. If you are on a train and you look out the window, you see a cow. Then the train moves and you see a tree. Then the train moves and you see a bridge. Does the cow cease to exist because you can't see it anymore? No. The cow is back there down the track. You just passed it. Does the bridge not exist until you see it? No. The bridge is up there waiting. We are observers moving through the landscape of time. We experience it sequentially, moment by moment, because that is how our brains are wired. But the moments themselves, the events of your life, are fixed locations in space-time. What does this mean for death? It means that your life, from birth to death, is a permanent feature of the universe. It is a thread woven into the fabric of space-time. The year 2025, the year you were born, the year you die, these are coordinates. Just like New York and London are coordinates in space, New York doesn't disappear just because you fly to London. So the pattern that is you exists eternally within that block of space-time. You are there. You are always there. In the slice of time labeled 1995 or 2024, you are alive. You are laughing. You are thinking. You are struggling. That reality is immutable. It cannot be erased. From the perspective of physics, the you that is alive right now is just as real as the you that was a baby and just as real as the you that will be an old man or woman. The fact that your consciousness is focused on this particular slice right now is just a detail of how we process information. So death is not a deletion. It is a boundary. It is the edge of the pattern in the time direction. Just as you have a boundary in space, your skin, you have a boundary in time. You don't go on forever in space. You are not infinite. And you don't go on forever in time. You are not eternal. But within those boundaries, you are absolutely real and absolutely permanent. But let's go deeper. Let's go back to the atoms, because there is something marvelous about where they go next. I said earlier that the atoms are immortal. They really are. The carbon atom in your fingertip, it has been around for billions of years. It was cooked in the nuclear furnace of a star. You see, the universe started with simple stuff. Hydrogen, helium, boring stuff. You can't make a brain out of hydrogen. You can't make a hand out of helium. You need heavier stuff. You need carbon, nitrogen, iron, oxygen. Where do they come from? They are not made in the cold of space. They are made in the center of stars. The stars are the factories. They smash atoms together, fusing them, building heavier and heavier elements. And then what happens? The star explodes. A supernova, a tremendous, violent catastrophe. It blasts these new heavy atoms out into the cosmos. And then gravity pulls them together again. They form a cloud. The cloud condenses. It forms a new star, our sun. It forms planets, our Earth. And out of that dust, out of that debris of dead stars, life emerges. So when I look at you, I don't see just a person. I see stardust. I see the wreckage of ancient solar systems rearranging itself into a structure that can think. The universe has developed a way to look at itself. You are the universe's way of knowing itself. The atoms in your eye are the universe looking at the atoms in my hand. It is the same stuff playing a game of hide and seek. When you die, the game changes. The biological pattern breaks down. The entropy wins locally. The ordered arrangement of the brain scatters. But the atoms, they go on. They go into the soil. They go into the air. They become part of a flower. They become part of a tree. They might become part of another person. It is a constant recycling, a constant transformation. There is a beautiful, though slightly morbid, realization here. The air you breathe right now contains atoms that were once breathed by Newton, by Einstein, by Caesar. The probability is such that in every breath you take, you are inhaling millions of atoms that have passed through the lungs of every historical figure you can think of. We are all mixed up in this thing together. We are not separate entities. We are like eddies in a river. The river flows, the eddies form, they swirl, they keep their shape for a while, and then they dissolve back into the river. But the water is one. And let's talk about the energy. In quantum mechanics, we have this idea of amplitudes, probability arrows. We calculate the likelihood of an event happening. When we look at the vacuum of space, we used to think it was empty, nothing, zero. But quantum mechanics tells us that empty space is not empty. It is seething with activity, virtual particles popping in and out of existence, fields vibrating. The vacuum is alive with potential. You are an excitation of these fields. You are a localized vibration. When the vibration stops, the energy returns to the field. Think of a sound. If I clap my hands, a sound wave travels through the air. You hear the clap, then silence. Where did the sound go? Did it vanish? The energy of the sound spread out. It heated up the air molecules just a tiny, tiny bit. The motion was distributed. The organized clap became disorganized heat. But the energy is still there. Your life is like that clap. It is a burst of order, a burst of song, a burst of complexity. And when it ends, the energy is distributed back into the great choir of the universe. So why are we afraid? We are afraid because we are attached to the self. We are attached to the ego, the little voice in the head that says, I am important, I am separate, I must survive. That voice is a biological trick. It is a necessary illusion for survival. If you didn't have that voice, you wouldn't eat, you wouldn't run from tigers, you wouldn't pass on your genes. Evolution gave you the illusion of separation so that you would protect the pattern. But physics tells us the separation is an illusion. The boundaries between you and the environment are arbitrary. You are constantly exchanging matter and energy with the world. You are continuous with the universe. When you realize this, really realize it, it is a liberating feeling. You realize that you are not a stranger in the universe. You are not a lonely observer placed here by accident on a rock spinning in the middle of nowhere. You are the universe. You are a part of it, intrinsic to it. You are what the universe is doing at this particular place and this particular time. And just as the universe was here before you were born and it was fine, it will be here after you die and it will be fine. And since you are made of the universe, you will be fine. Not the you that is the name in the phone book, not the you that worries about taxes, but the deep you, the atomic you, the energy you. There is a glory in this. It is the glory of the changing forms. If nothing ever died, nothing new could ever be born. If the pattern never dissolved, the atoms would be locked in prison. They could never become a new star, a new flower, a new baby. Death is the price we pay for the privilege of life. It is the cost of admission to this incredible show. And frankly, it is a bargain to have been here at all, to have been a collection of atoms that could think, that could wonder, that could look up at the stars and ask why. That is the miracle. The fact that it ends doesn't take away from the miracle. it defines it. A song is beautiful because it has a beginning and an end. If a note went on forever, it wouldn't be music, it would be noise. Your life is music. So next time you think about the end, don't imagine a black void. Don't imagine an empty room where the lights have gone out. Imagine the wind blowing the seeds of a dandelion. Imagine the waves returning to the ocean. Imagine the atoms that have danced the dance of you graduating to their next adventure. You have played your part in the history of the universe. You are written into the block of space-time forever. And the stuff that made you, it has work to do. It has new worlds to build. Nature is a wonderful thing. It is absurd. It is complex. And it is beautiful in its ruthlessness. It doesn't care about our individual egos, but it cares deeply about the conservation of its parts. Nothing is lost. Nothing is wasted. It just changes. And that, to me, is a far more comforting thought than any fairy tale. Now, if this way of looking at the world, this way of peeling back the layers of the onion to see the truth inside, excites you, then you are in the right place. We are going to keep asking these questions. We are going to keep looking at the jiggling atoms and the bending space. So please share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who needs to know that they are more than just a fleeting shadow. And join us next time, because the universe is a big place and we have a lot more finding out to do.